Secretary, I'd like to ask some questions about Operation Kingscliff.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. For those playing at home, this is the NAC investigation into a Home Affairs official. When did you first become aware that there might have been issues relating to this official?
In January of 2024, Senator.
Right. My understanding from the report is that Home Affairs as a department became aware on the 19th of December when its Integrity and Professional Standards branch received a referral. So you weren't told at that time?
I don't believe so, Senator, but I would ask the officials from that team to check their records. My understanding is that I became aware on my return from leave in early January.
Right. I have here on the timeline from the report that it was on the 12th of January that you made a referral to the NAC Commissioner, so presumably it was around that time or sometime prior to that you learned of it.
So, Senator, the referral was made by the Acting Secretary in the week that I was, in a period that I was on leave.
Right. So
I learnt on my return shortly after the referral had been made.
Okay. So you weren't aware prior to Christmas that a referral had been made to the Integrity and Professional Standards branch? That's
correct, Senator.
Right.
But as I said, I'm asking the branch to make sure that my recollection is correct.
Isn't it the case that the relevant departmental official was working on your team?
That's correct, Senator.
What substantive position did they hold on your team?
My Chief of Staff, Senator.
Right. So the Integrity and Professional Standards branch learnt on the 19th of December of a corruption issue involving your Chief of Staff and didn't tell you for weeks?
So, Senator, I might ask Ms Tressler, the Chief Operating Officer, if she can come and assist us with the process that went on in that period. I'll also ask my office to check the dates of my leave over that period.
Thank you.
I don't want to put words into Ms Tressler's mouth, but I think there would normally be a period where a referral was received where the officers would try and validate the information.
Sure.
Thank you, Senator. Charlotte Tressler, Chief Operating Officer. As Ms Foster has stated, it would be standard practice for us to do some preliminary inquiries into a matter on referral before then working out the appropriate course of action, which would include notifying Secretary and the NAC where required as well. I do have the team just checking those dates for you as well.
Thank you. That'd be helpful. And I do appreciate that it's possible that when a referral comes in, it could be entirely baseless or speculative. And so, you know, the first action shouldn't be tell the Secretary, but as soon as any validity or concern was established to be genuine, surely the Secretary should know that there's a corruption complaint about their Chief of Staff.
That's absolutely correct, Senator. I agree.
Right. So I really can't persist much without having that timeline. How far away is that timeline about?
The team are checking it currently, so I'll let you know as soon as we've got that.
Okay, thank you. I'll persist as best as I can. Secretary, how did you first become aware of this official's conduct?
So in the handover briefing on the day I returned from leave, Mr Smythe, who had been Acting Secretary, advised me that he had received a report including a recommendation for a referral to the NAC, which he had actioned in my absence.
Right. Is he here?
No, Senator.
And why is that?
He's transferred to the Department of Education, Senator.
Okay. That's unfortunate because obviously he has contemporary knowledge of receiving this complaint and making the referral. Thank you. I'll just persist for a couple more minutes and then, yes, very happy to. Okay, thank you, Chair. What action did you take when you became aware of this issue, Secretary?
So, Senator, the officer involved was on leave at the time. And so
Sorry to interrupt. Just regular leave, annual leave, or were they placed on leave because of this
regular
issue?
leave.
Yep.
They were due back at the end of January. And so on the officer's return, on the morning of that return, she was advised by our internal integrity team and the NAC of the allegations, and she was immediately stood down and escorted from the building.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Chair. I should support Senator Shoebridge on that. It's not just a Greens talking point, although it might be. I think it's an objective fact by measuring objective numbers. Anyway, that's not the reason for I'm seeking the call. Secretary, did you have answers to that the timeline questions and those leave questions that I asked before?
I'm sorry, Senator. I have my own leave, and I have impressed on the team the urgency of documenting that short period in December pre-Christmas.
Okay.
But unless Ms Tressler has an update, what I'm seeking to establish is what happened when the report was received. The officer who runs that division has assured me that his normal practice, if that were drawn to his attention, would be to have briefed his boss, the Chief Operating Officer. That was before Ms Tressler came into the job.
Who was the Chief Operating Officer at the time?
It was Justine Saunders.
Who is still with the department or also no longer with the department?
Not with the department.
That's unfortunate.
But the records, when we can get them, Senator, will indicate what happened in those sort of few days before Christmas. And then I was on leave essentially from Christmas forward. So my approved leave was 2 to 15 January.
Right. So there was no acting secretary when this incident was first reported. You were the...
That's correct, yes.
Right. And so, sorry, just to say your leave again was from the 2nd of January to the 15th, did you say? Did I hear that right?
I think I did say that. Yep, 2nd to 15 January.
Right. So that's a time span of roughly 2 weeks before the incident was reported and you went on leave. And in that period, I appreciate it's Christmas and all of that. I don't want to be unreasonable about this, but no one thought to tell you that there'd been a corruption complaint about your Chief of Staff?
So, Senator, that's what I'm trying to establish. What was happening to that report in that what was only a few days before we went on Christmas leave.
Sure. But again, I mean, this is someone at the highest levels of the department with access to sensitive and important national security information, presumably with a pretty senior security clearance. And we got this complaint, and shouldn't be one of the first things to happen that you be told?
Senator, as I said, the officer who runs the division has indicated to me that he believes that that's what he would do in normal circumstances. We're trying to establish whether it didn't get to him quickly or whether he didn't in this instance. And as soon as we know that, we'll provide that to you.
Right. So do you have the dates when your Chief of Staff was on leave? Because obviously she was on leave when this was referred to the NAC, and as you say, when she came back in was immediately put on leave or dismissed or whatever it was.
My memory, Senator, was it was through the whole period of January, and she came back from leave right at the end of January.
Right.
But
So not
I'll
December,
have that
so she was
checked.
still working with you up until you went on leave?
We're just having those leave dates checked, Senator.
Right, but as best as you can recollect, until you went on leave, was your Chief of Staff working with you? Is it ordinary for you and her to be on leave at the same time or to stagger your leave?
Senator, it varies a lot depending on who else in the office is there, what people's personal commitments are, and I don't recall when the officer went on leave that Christmas.
Okay. It will be important to have that information as soon as it's available. What steps have you taken since then to satisfy yourself that nothing was compromised while she was in the role of Chief of Staff to you?
So, Senator, we have undertaken a number of actions in response to the NAC report that go to the nature of the offence, of the transgression. That was the subject of the NAC report. The issue that was the subject of the report, as you know, related to recruitment practices. And to my knowledge, there was no related activity in my office that caused me to check that.
And I hear you choosing your words carefully there, but of course, if someone is willing to engage in corrupt activity in one area of their duties, shouldn't we be concerned that they be willing to engage in corrupt activity in other areas of their duties, particularly when it comes to something sensitive like national security?
Thank you for those interjections, Senator Shoebridge.
So, Senator,
Sorry, if I could, I was just checking my memory with the team. I did, when this all came to light, I did ask the team to do some general checking that there weren't other instances that we should be concerned about or required investigation, and we did not find anything.
What does that mean, Ms Tressler?
So we had a look at records and did some further investigation to check if there were other instances that would require follow-up or further investigation.
So this officer's conduct in other areas, their professional conduct in other areas was carefully reviewed? Is that what you're saying?
So we did undertake a review.
Yep. Who did that review? When did it occur? How long did it take?
So I'll get further details for you, but that was our investigations and professional standards team did some further inquiries and investigation.
Okay. Thank you. Further information about that would be helpful on notice. Secretary, when did you first discuss this with the Minister?
Senator, I don't recall an exact date. I do recall bringing it to his attention at a very early opportunity because of the sensitivity of the role that the officer was in.
Mm-hmm. Can you take that on notice?
I can, Senator.
Thank you. And whether the department by any other means notified the Minister's office any earlier than when you and the Minister first canvassed it?
I will, Senator.
Just quickly on another matter, because I can't really go much further until that information comes back on notice. I'm looking at the new org chart. The print is very small, so if I've missed this, please correct me, but it doesn't appear to me on the face of it that there is any longer a counter-terrorism coordinator or a counter-foreign interference coordinator. Is that right? Like a substantive person in those roles with that title?
That's not correct, Senator.
Help me. Who is the counter-terrorism coordinator?
So I'll ask Mr Hansford to come up and outline how he's organised the responsibilities within the National Security Group.
Hello, Senator Hamish Hansford, Head of National Security in Home Affairs. So, Senator, I am both the Commonwealth Counter-Terrorism Coordinator and the National Counter-Foreign Interference Coordinator. Both of those roles are outlined on the Department of Home Affairs website and are now well known to stakeholders by virtue of me chairing our Counter-Foreign Interference Executive Board and the Joint Counter-Terrorism Board, as well as the Australia-New Zealand Counter-Terrorism Committee.
That's a lot on your plate. You're Head of National Security, CFI Coordinator, CT Coordinator. Very capable person, of course, Mr Hansford, but that's a lot for one person to do.
It goes to the Secretary's comments earlier about the appointment of a Head of National Security. You'll see in the organisational structure we have two Deputy Secretaries responsible for effectively the line management of domestic security and law enforcement on the one hand, and the critical infrastructure and protective security mission on the other hand, which allows me to really perform those roles really with senior leaders supporting me. Really my role is to integrate the mission and to pick up on the Minister's comments. Given the threat environment, particularly emergent threats are coming together, how do we think about hybrid threats in a different way? What does that look like? How do we start to bring areas of work together? And the coordination functions help me do that as well.
Sure, but it's previously been a full-time job in its own right. We have previously had CT coordinators and CFI coordinators. Sometimes it's been combined, sometimes it's been different people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my memory. Having all of those roles and your other roles in one person, can you assure me that nothing will fall through the cracks, that there are no gaps in coverage, that there are no things which could occur because of that?
Senator, I think two comments. The first comment is that the previous incumbent of those two roles also managed a group on a day-to-day basis as well. And so this gives me flexibility in one sense to be able to focus on that coordination mission and to think about national security generally and try and bring the mission together. And in terms of guarantees, I will, to the best of my abilities, perform the function.
But I'm not wrong in saying, I agree with you about your immediate predecessor, but I'm not wrong in saying previously the CT coordinator has been a full-time role and the CFI coordinator has been a full-time role.
That is correct, Senator. Yes.
Right. So, Secretary, you're satisfied that nothing will fall through the cracks by piling all of this on Mr Hansford's plate, capable as he is?
I am, Senator, because as Mr Hansford explained, the day-to-day management of the national security functions are run by two very capable deputies who sit underneath Mr Hansford. And so that has relieved him of that level of management responsibility for those functions and enabled him to look upwards and outwards.
So is this the two FASs? Is that the people you're referring to, or are the assistant secretaries?
Two deputy
secretaries.
Two deputy secretaries who effectively fulfilling these roles, is that what you're saying?
So, no, Senator, the structure of the group is such that Mr Hansford sits over two deputy secretaries, each of whom have the two functions that he just described. As deputies, they take the day-to-day running of those functions, which frees Mr Hansford up to do the broader coordination role and to support me in my leadership role of the department.
Is Mr Hansford also a deputy secretary?
He is,
substantively.
Senator.
Is it ordinary to have deputy secretaries under a deputy secretary?
So it's absolutely permitted under the structures and public service rules, and it's relatively commonplace in some agencies, not in others.
Okay.
So Treasury has used a system like that for many years.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.